I think the lecture is kind of complementary things to the video. I think in the documentary we already present several ideas and several projects. So in my lecture, essentially, I will present some project that has not been presented during the documentary. So in order to complete a little bit in a more comprehensive way the vision of the studio. There are different types of communication. No? Communication just to present our work. I think honestly we don't pay so much attention to present our work. I think what is really important is to communicate to all the people that are around us, the clients, the constructor, etc. What we want to achieve. No? I think there is a pedagogical part which is quite important to transmit to the client, for example, what is really important for a certain project, why we are very focused in certain things that maybe for them are not very relevant, but for the architecture are very important. No? So in this sense, communicate what is essential for a project, for a good architecture, it is important. If you have seen in the documentary, there were some images about a monographic exhibition that we have made in several places. And we titled this exhibition On Continuity. No? So finding a title for the exhibition has been for us quite complex. And at the end, we realized that this word, this idea to work in continuity with something, it's probably one of the key idea behind of what we do essentially. We really always struggle to find a certain idea of continuity with the reality of places. We would like, we really try to be, to create architecture specific for a place, able to interpret the character and the atmosphere of different places, to be in continuity also with a certain tradition that exists in different places, in different countries. No? For us, I think this is probably a core idea of our work. No? So, as I said in the documentary, this means try to be specific, but at the same time also create autonomous architecture, no? Because, and I think this is the dichotomy that guide our work now. From one side, we are very conscious that the architecture should find this very intimate, deep relationship with a place, with a reality. But the reality in a broader sense, reality is not just a physical things, it's also an imaginary things, it's a cultural things. So from one side, we really want to grow our architecture with this empathy for the place. But at the same time, we are absolutely conscious, as I mentioned in the documentary, there an architecture has a value per se. No? Even independently for the context, no? So, and has a kind of objectual value, no? So, and I think exactly in the limit or in a balance between these two opposite things, no? Is where our work is established in some way, no? When there are certain architecture or project that we have made in which you can feel that they belong to this place, but at the same time they mark a new step inside of a tradition that exists in that place. I think these are the architecture that we prefer in some way. No? And I think since the beginning we more or less work with always the same idea, no? Because I'm really conscious, as we mentioned in the documentary there, that an architect works really with its own obsession in some way. No? And for us, avoid the generic, really try to find every time an architecture able to work in continuity with a tradition, an idea, reality. No, I think it's the main obsession of our work. And I think, for example, the museum we made in Kur, that also appeared in the documentary quite quickly, I think is really a good example of this idea of understand architecture. No, so. I would like to present maybe this project in a little bit more deeper way. No? So the project of the museum is an extension of this building. This building is named Villa Planta. It's a kind of eclectic building, really based in Chur, in Switzerland, in the Graubünden region. Originally, it was a residence for a rich merchant, and then has been transformed in a museum. And it's very eclectical because you will see it's based on a Palladian idea. It's really directly inspired by the La Rotonda, the Palladio. No? But then there is a kind of an ornamentation around the building, the floors, in the Sphinx, that there are places at the entry, no, with this kind of orientalistic taste, no, which make a very kind of strange things. No? This because originally this building was a residence for a merchant that import textile from Egypt, no? And if wanted to honor that country with this kind of decoration with this orientalistic ornamentation. In 1982, it was renovated by Peter Zumthorn, and he added the 2 winter garden on the side of the entry. No? So the project was the extension of this. They asked him to extend this building, and for us, since the beginning, this was the starting point of the project. No? What we really like, it's simply work with what we found. We don't want to invent things, but in every place there are elements that permit to create a new narrative for a place in continuity with what already exists. In this case, this idea of a Palladian building, a certain relationship with a kind of oriental decoration, ornamentation. For example, here is one of the most beautiful room of the historic building. No? So this element, in some way, since the beginning, we understood that they were really the starting point of the project. No? The plan of the original building is clearly inspired by the rotonda with a center void and a double symmetry. No? So in a way, this idea to confront ourselves with a kind of ideal architecture, no? This is the rotonda, that represent an absolute ideal, almost platonical idea, was an important thing. No? So, and step by step, we really understood that the project should create this kind of intimate dialogue with the existing, no? Creating a kind of diptych in some way, no? To create a new architecture, reusing or reinterpret the identitary element that already exist in the original building. As I said before, I think in all the project we did or we are doing, you can always find an element that is able to link the new architecture with a pre-existing building or with the general context or with a tradition or something. No? It's a way in order really to create a contemporary architecture that follow a line, a historical line. No? So, and this idea to create a diptych, no? Something that is different but has the same element, was crucial for the project. And I think not for this project, but probably the main idea appears in the Philharmonic in Szczecin, no? Whether it's the relationship with the roof, etc., etc. No? So suddenly we made this proposal. No? The new building, the project, is again work with the same element. No? It's again based in a double symmetry. It's extrapolate the geometry from the original villa, has the element of the entry like the other one. So the same ingredient that exists in other words are exported. And also in this drawing, you can notice how the facade has this very delicate relief, that is this kind of subtle link with this idea of an oriental, let's say, ornamentation that exists in the original building. And also, this is one of the drawings that I like the most that we have produced, because it represents a very, let's say, synthetic architecture. No? All the museum has been solved essentially with two cores, one public, the other private, that conform a public space, the foyer. And the structural element, the construction in itself, it's just there. Everything is matched in some way, and it has a capacity to express a lot. We always try really to condensate many meaning in every element, in some way. So I always describe the project as a neo-Palladian building. Then you will see the plan, in which this vast relief in the facade establish also this dialogue with the ornamental of the element of the original building. So again, and I think this idea of the diptych appears very, very clear. Another really important, so I think this is a project that really condenses a lot of ideas that are around the table at the office. When you look at the building, it's not evident, but for us, one of the crucial things has been to reduce at the maximum the footprint of the project in order to have a little bit of public space around the building, this kind of mineral garden in some way that permit to give to the project the right scale and insertion in the urban scale. So the idea to create or generate a kind of public space, even if it is just a small recess, has been really another starting point of this project. For example, in the case of the Musée des Beaux-Arts in Lausanne, is more or less the same idea. Really, the architecture is just the frame of the urban. We really strive in order to create this kind of elongated plaza. So all the architecture we made are really always, let's say, the frame of the public space. So here you can notice it's the relationship with the context, with the Villa Planta, the right insertion aside, quite let's say big program is solved by this simple mineral garden around it. But in order precisely to create a little bit of public space, reduce the footprint, try to find the right scale, and establish this kind of conceptual dialogue with the original building, what we have done has been we took a quite radical decision because we reinvert the program. The main exhibition gallery for the permanent and temporary exhibition space are underground, and then the technical spaces. So it works like an iceberg. Well, what you see is maybe the 30% of the entire building. But this quite radical strategy permit also to explore all the relationship that I already mentioned. So, and I think also is another strategy that we use a lot. Apparently the building quite sober, but if you notice carefully, there is always a moment in which we try to understand, to create synergies between different programs. So the programmatic approach is quite, in many cases, quite radical. So the foyer, it's declare the relationship with the historical building. And also, for example, this is just a little bit technical things, but I think it's quite important speaking about the program that we have been able also to reduce at the maximum the footprint, because we decided to don't do the delivery area, no? And we propose to the client to use the most noble part of the museum, so the foyer where the people enter, etc., also as a loading dock, no? So essentially, inside of there arrive the truck, no? And this is the reason also why we organize the false ceiling with this whole small wood element in this way. It's not just an aesthetic things, but it's because behind here we have huge tube and conduct and shaft in order to permit to enter here the truck. Now this means also, it's a technical thing, but it's quite important because it speaks about try to find a synergy between different program and also try to do what is just necessary, you know, reduce the architecture really at what is necessary and not much more than, not adding superfluous things. No? Okay, there is the core, you go down very quickly because I don't want to be too large. And in this floor, the first exhibition floor, the relationship with this, with the Palladio idea that exists in the original building, I think it's very evident. No, it just the plan is a composition of a sequence of different rooms, different proportion. It's a combinatory system, directly extrapolated with all the scheme by Palladio. No? And again, everything round about the two cores and the connection with the Villa Planta. No? So these are the typical space for the permanent gallery in which we put a lot of effort in the artificial light in this case. Also the fact that we buried, let's say, the exhibition area permit also to control the temperature, the hygrometry of the spaces, no, and make the proposal the project very efficient and energetically efficient. And the lower floor, again, it's a very simple scheme in which everything is solved with these two core. The rest of the space is just a free space for temporary exhibition. No? It's very, at the same time, it's very, let's say, rigid and precise, no? But at the same time, very flexible because the director, the curator can make partition whatever they want it. No? So, and what we really like is to solve very complex program. No, the Fine Art Museum always have a lot of constraints, etc., in the most simple way. No, these are just images of these spaces, and for sure, for us, it's very important. So every building has a specific materiality because we understand the materiality of the architecture and as an element that is able to create even a more intimate relationship with a place. No, for example, in this case, for us was important to, I don't know, to work with the facade with this idea to create a big bas relief in some way. No, and we organized the entire building with this small element made with a prefab system in concrete. No, and in this case, for example, it's evident that the proposal used the same element of the existing. No? It's axial. There is the entry. Originally, the entry was from this facade of the building, etc., etc. No? So. In this case, in order to achieve this bas relief, we work with prefab concrete panels, no? And we have been able really to create this kind of jealousy, no? Also for covering the windows and achieving a very, very precise detail. No? Working with the materiality is not just is another way to understand how to be specific for a place. No? For example, when we did the Philharmonic in Szczecin, the Symphonic Hall is a very artisanal work. It's been made with carpenter. It's completely made in wood with the golden leaf, placed by hand. So after more than 1 year, just putting golden leaf. No, because in that case. there was a tradition in working like that. There was also a person able to work in this. So in Switzerland, this type of work was probably completely impossible. So, but we took advantage about the know-how that the country has. We work with concrete, and we have been able really to trade the country with like a precious material that permit to create this kind of ornamentation. And what is important also is that conceptually this element responds to the pre-existing building, but at the same time is a very technical element because permit to solve how to filter the light from the window, how to hide all the technical elements. So when an apparently decorative element became a technical element, very functional, so this something important happens in some way. It's no more decoration, it's another things. Yeah, and here is a detail of the facade, and also we struggle to remark this is the delivery entry, and because of the relevance of this element, because really is a starting point of the project. The project starting there in order really to compact at the maximum the building. This is the reason why we remark the door in a different way. Inside of this very precise Cartesian double symmetry, there is one disruption, and it is precisely this element. That is the element that marks the reason why the building is like that. And also here you can notice this mineral garden that surround the building and create this kind of basement, this plinth that go down in the earth, and you can feel that the building is inserted inside of the earth. And to conclude the presentation, I would like to finish with the project in Miami that has been already presented. But this for us, I think, is a very important project that marks a little bit, let's say, an important moment for us. There will be the first building that will be in US. It is marked it is placed in the north of Miami in a kind of suburban area. It sits along the train, in a kind of industrial area present with a lot of warehouses. This is the site. And some view of when the building which is at the end of on the left, and these are the building also there. This is just to give you a sense of which kind of context. For us, this was really a kind of very challenging project because how to work in this such of place. There's no pre-existing building. It's a different, completely different context from the other project. But fortunately, the program for this project was really beautiful. It was a kind of our resident for artists, so they really wanted to promote young artists, and they offered atelier to work there. And for the client, was really important to create a kind of sense of community between the ULAID, the foundation, and the local community and the artist. So inside of this very flat, let's say, urban environment without any kind of relevant element, the first idea was really to create a kind of oasis, a kind of very intimate place. These are the sketches we made for the competition before really to start the project. So we had this idea in mind to create an enclosure working with green. We started to understand that it was important to create a collection of rooms that permit different activities of the different artists, to create this sense of, to find a balance between the intimacy that artists required, but also to create a kind of common space. So at the end, we started to imagine that the project was just a collection of room surrounding probably a kind of garden or something, and we start to imagine that the complexity of the program can create a kind of a more complex enclosure. Now, these were all ideas we had in mind before exactly to know what to do. At a certain point, and with this idea in mind, we won the competition. And at some point when we started to develop the project, there was a very important moment in which we understood that this kind of complex system could be made by just a very simple element, an archetype element, no? Because at the end, the building is a collection of studios, and the studio is just a room with a skylight, no more than this, no? So, and we started with this very naive and basic archetype. We started to imagine that probably this is an element that permits us not just create an architecture, but create a place, no? And probably this was the most important things for also for them, create a kind of sense of community, not just an emblematic building, no? And this element, a room with a skylight, permit create an artificial landscape, no? So step by step, we started to make the building more clear, more simple, not to rationalize all the program. And finally, this is a study model with this at the office, with this carved plinth in which appears the different skylight. And starting, as I say, with this cell, this is the studio. Every studio has a skylight looking north and windows opening to the garden. No? The skylight for the northern light, the window in order to be participate and with the community, with the garden. No? So the aggregation of this simple element, no? Along this new axis, because the plot is very narrow and elongated, create this kind of new landscape. No? So it appears quite complex, but it's very, very simple. And it's just the juxtaposition, a very basic idea. No? The main entry is from the east facade. You can see the short facade here, in which these two elements mark the entry, and it ends with the theater at the end. No? Again, I think this is really summarize a lot of our obsession, because like in the project we did many years ago in ROA, like the Lausanne project, etc., it's really to create the frame of architecture, just the frame of the urban space. No? So, and here it's really a project that tried to create a place in middle of a completely in a no place. No? This suburban area of Miami, you can believe me, it's nothing in some way. No? And yeah, and at the end, it creates this kind of small village for artists and establish a kind of beautiful analogy also with the downtown of Miami at the end. No? In this area probably will be, is suffering a process of heavy construction. Maybe in the future here there will be tower, etc. But this building can stay because it marks a new place in some way. Everything set in just one floor, in 7 clusters. Every cluster has a porch in which you can enter in the different studios, and there is an art gallery in which the artists present and the theater. And this is an infography that presents how it is. No? The entry is quite enigmatic. It was quite important to find the right balance between openness and protection in some way. No? So you enter through this, let's say, gate in some way, and when you enter inside of this kind of enigmatic building, you discover this new artificial landscape, a garden that we imagine very exuberant in some way, in which you can enter in the different studio, in the open, on the life is the porch, etc. So the idea really to create a sense of community. You know? This is the most important thing. In this case, this idea to be specific, it's not just with the physical reality of a place, but it's to be specific also. It's a kind of cultural specificity. It's really to trying to transmit the desire in some way of this client to create a sense of community. No? So here you will see another skylight with the greens, etc., etc. But there is during the process of development of the project, we arrived with a very important idea. as I said before, for us it's important to be specific for a place, but also with the environment, with the climate. No? So we start at the beginning. All these elements were just skylight. Then we started to understand that maybe every element can have a very precise climatic function. No? And we started to work on that. So we started to discover that some of them are oriented north and are skylight. Some of them became wind catchers. Some others are solar chimneys, and some other became water tanks. So every tower start to get more meaning. If it's looking north, it's the skylight, etc., etc. And this system of element permit us to create a passive strategy in order to reinforce the natural ventilation of the spaces. In this case, it's not, we are in Miami, it's an extreme climate. It's not possible that the building works just in a passive way, but all this strategy permit to reduce the necessity of the energy consumption and reduce the presence of the air conditioning. No? But the most important thing is that so these elements are no more just one thing, but they really absorb a much more meaning and really start to be very specific for a certain type of climate. No? The section through the porch. No, the porches are kind of enclosed garden in which the vegetation permit the entry into the studios. Other section through the cell, the basic cell, the studio with the skylight and the windows open towards the garden that became also a displays for art. And the gallery where the artists present their work. So again, in this case, it's a building in which represent for us a new step in our work in some way, because we started to discover how to work in a very different context from the previous project we did. It's still a building in which it is important, like I think the majority of our project, as I said before, it's more important to create a place than an object in itself. So thank you.